for
Okay,
that.
okay.
Great, thanks, mate.
Okay. So it's about my business journey, some of the key findings over 25 years. So yeah, I'll just talk a little bit about, we're going to launch something this afternoon, a new initiative. So I wouldn't normally spend any time on this other than that we're launching a new initiative. So I want to, for Christian schools and part of ACS. So I will talk a little bit about my experience. So Genesis business manager for 25 years, that's a long time, but it also covers a small school, a medium school and a large school. So I started there with about 200 students, which is a pretty small school. It might have been 230, it was 200-ish, low 200s. And then I left at around 1,600 or just done, I think it might have been 1,595. So I've been able to be involved in a small school. I understand the challenges, a medium-sized school and a large school. So over 25 years, it took a long time to get to that. So I spent a bit of time in each of those sort of small, medium and large. On the BGA for 13 years, as on the finance committee, visiting about 100 schools. So I would have recommended, I don't know, a couple of $100 million, I don't know how many, a lot of money, a few $100 million probably in grants over that time. But the good experience from the BGA is that you get to see a lot of schools. You get to see what they're building, you get to see the new innovations, and how different schools do things differently. Associated Christian Schools, us, treasurer for 6 years. I was on ASBAR. If you're not a member of ASBAR, you should be. So I know some of you are, but if you're not a member of ASBAR, you should be, because it's excellent professional development and excellent networking with other business managers, and obviously continuing with what we're building here with ACS and business managers as well. But I highly recommend ASBAR. So I was on the committee, leadership committee, for 4 years and 2 years as the chair. I'm also on a couple of boards and finance committees, involved at Hillcrest Christian College on their finance, Hills International on their board, finance, property, and then just recently been on Kimberley Christian College and board, as well as property and finance committee. So, and then now in the last couple of years I've been doing consulting, I've been doing BGA grants for schools, helping them, doing all sorts of stuff. So that's sort of my experience. I only took a bit of time because so I don't have to go through it later when we're talking about a new initiative that we're going to kick off. So a mentor of mine, sorry I forgot your name again? Paul. Also a mentor of Paul's is Rob Fuller. Some of you may know, he was at the BGA for quite a few years, but he was the founding business manager at King's Christian College, the powerhouse King's. So he was the founding business manager there, and he then went on to the BGA, and then he became a consultant, similar to me. So I've actually followed a similar pathway to Rob, although I didn't work on the BGA, I only worked on a committee on the BGA, as a visitor. And he drilled into me about ratios. So I'm not going to go through and spend a lot of time with ratios today, because I'm sure you've involved with your own ratios, but other than to say that's been a backbone of what I've done at Genesis. And we never, if you have a look at both our student graph, enrolment graph, and you have a look at our surplus, it's just basically straight lines up for both of them. So that's been able to ensure, and being able to have a relationship with the principal where you talk about the ratios and guided by the ratios. And that's vitally important for the financial security and success of the school, that partnership with the board and the principal about the ratios, getting them right. So at Genesis, for example, every year, so the principal will say, oh, next year we're growing by 30 primaries and 40 high school students. That's our growth. What can we get? I said, well, for primary, at 30, you can probably get nearly 2, maybe a 1.6. And for secondary, at 40, you can probably get about 3 point something. Off the top of my head, the ratios were around 12 to 1 in high school and around 18 to 1 in primary. So we were guided by that ratio. To me, that is the number one ratio. There's obviously debt ratios, which we'll talk about, and the banking covenant ratios, which are typically, for most schools, the banking ratios are your interest cover, greater than 2 or 3 times, your EBITDA being greater than 10%, and your debt divided by EBITDA being under 6.5. So they are the typical banking covenants, and I think it's important to make sure that you're reporting on those performances regularly to the board and using Somerset as well for benchmarking, because obviously the benchmarking I'm talking about for primary and secondary teachers and students, for us as typically low to medium fees, is not going to be the same as, say, grammar, Brisbane Boys Grammar, Brisbane Boys Girls Grammar, whatever, because their fees are 30,000 plus, so their ratios will be a lot different, and they don't need to run quite as efficiently as we do because our fees are significantly lower. So, but just talking about those banking covenants and reporting to the board about the importance of those. Every year I would, as soon as we get the financial statements finished, I would do an annual comparison to our ratios from our results to the benchmark ratios for Christian schools similar size across Australia. So I would report how we're going to benchmarks. And I think it's important for all business managers to be doing that on a regular basis. And you can use it as leverage, because if your ratio for primary schools at 15 and Christian schools your size average is 18, we can use it as leverage to say, well, you can see here we're over significantly, or it might be in teacher aids, or it might be in ground staff, or whatever it may be in. You can use that as leverage to the principal of the board to say, hey, we need to fix this. So that's how I used it. By using Somerset, it helped to guide the board and to guide the principal on what we should be at if we're out, where we should be and how do we get there. So I can't stress more importantly that the ratios, we're not going to go through them all today because that's a whole session on itself, but I just wanted to cover the importance and how I used them very much my whole life. And Rob Fuller, founding business manager at King's, was my mentor, and he really drummed that into me. So what is a great business manager? It's not just a good accountant. So I have one of my schools that I'm on the board, we're looking for a new business manager. Our business manager has handed resignation, he's moving to another school. Strangely enough, another school where I'm on the board too. No, it's just coincidental. But we're looking for a new business manager. So what am I looking for as part of that team, part of the team that's going to be choosing? If I've got, on one hand, a brilliant accountant, brilliant, but an average business manager, entrepreneur, and on the other hand, I've got an average accountant, but a brilliant business manager, entrepreneur, what am I going to choose? Well, I'm going to choose the brilliant business manager, business developer, and entrepreneur type with an average accountant over the brilliant accountant every day of the week. So we talked about what makes a great business manager. Well, I mean, what Kaywood presented today is some of the stuff that makes a great business manager, looking at ways to save money, looking at ways to invest. So that's part and parcel of it. So I've got a few things here about what makes a great business manager. Someone's trying to ring me, but they can go away. It's a person who is focused on school improvement, school growth, future focused, strategic thinking, enrolment growth, finding alternative revenue streams, and helping to create points of difference for your school. It is, in one short term, big picture thinking. So a good business manager is not just a good accountant, he's a big picture thinker, and so should the principal.